Hi guys, it's Samantha, and I am back today with a book review for you guys. I know it's been a while. I think it's because I have a hard time reviewing books, and I haven't really read any books that I've wanted to review. But that has changed. I am back today with a book I do want to review, and that book is Asylum by Madeleine Roux. So Asylum follows an older teen, Dan, as he enters a college prep program in, I believe it's New Hampshire. Basically, it takes place over the summer for several weeks at this college where they can learn about courses they can take that they might be interested in studying when they actually enter college within the next year and a half. This college has overflow, so Dan and his peers are instead housed in this old insane asylum that has been turned into a dorm of sorts, so it's been renovated and all that, but it used to be an old insane asylum, so this is where Dan and his peers are going to be staying for the duration of this college prep program. The first night there, his roommate Felix tells him about these creepy old photos he discovered in a room downstairs that used to be the old warden's office. He says that it was unlocked, even though there's a do not enter sign, so he checked it out and said it was super creepy and that maybe he should go and check them out. So Dan, of course, doesn't want to break any rules, so he doesn't go down there quite yet, but, you know, he goes about his day as per usual, but keeps this in the back of his mind. He also finds one of these creepy pictures in his nightstand drawer with the eyes scratched out of the guy, which he finds a little bit creepy and sinister, but he's like, you know, whatever, I'm just going to go about this as normal, and I'm just going to go about my day. So the next night, Dan and his two new friends, Abby and Jordan, decide to be a little bit adventurous and go into this old warden's office and check out these photos for themselves. So they go downstairs, the room is locked, but Jordan apparently has some mad lockpicking skills, and he decides that he's going to pick that lock, and they do, and they go inside. But inside, they find more than just creepy old photos, and what they end up finding inside and discovering in this room and rooms behind this door sheds a horrifying light on the asylum's dark past that could potentially endanger them all. And after they enter this room, after that night's over, strange things begin to start happening to Dan and his friends and the people in this program. Things that he can't explain, and he seems to begin to wonder if he himself is going insane and imagining these things, or if they somehow unearthed and unlocked something a little bit more sinister when they went into that old warden's office. So that's a basic synopsis of the story. Now, for what I kind of thought about it, I was a little bit up in the air about this book. It wasn't my favorite book that I've read. It wasn't as creepy as I was anticipating, I think. I don't read a lot of horror. The only other horror book I've really read is House on Haunted Hill. But it just wasn't, I don't know. It didn't do that much for me, I guess. I felt like the plot sort of played out like every single horror film you've ever seen. So it felt very formulaic and cliched, like you could kind of predict what was going to happen before it happened because you're pretty sure you've seen this in about 15 other movies prior to reading this book. So it just made it really, really predictable. It did have some points that left me feeling a little bit disturbed and creeped out. It primarily had to do with the psychological bits of the book. The moments where Dan was feeling a little bit like he himself was going insane. He was having lapses in his memory and he couldn't remember doing certain things. And stuff like that's always creeped me out anyway, no matter if it's in a book or a movie. So that part was a little bit creepy. That part left me feeling like a little like, ugh, I need to go read something happy now type of a feeling, which I suppose is good because that is pretty much what this book is driving at, I guess, is making you feel a little bit creeped out. Overall, I didn't find it that scary, and in the end, I pretty much predicted most of what happened in the end of the book, which is always a little bit disappointing when you end up predicting something that's going to happen. I mean, you don't even do it consciously. You're just kind of like, oh, okay, this is going to happen next. I bet this is going to happen, blah, 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 and then inevitably it does. In this case, inevitably it did. So yeah, that was kind of a downside to the book for me. As for the characters, I felt like the overall character development was pretty weak. I felt like all of the characters themselves fell into the typical horror story tropes that you find in movies anyway. Now, so I don't know, I'm sure you find them in books too, but I don't read that much horror, so I can't really speak for books. But in terms of horror movies, I felt like these characters fell into those categories. So you have the conflicted main protagonist with this sort of hairy, dark past, like things have happened in his past that he's been obviously trying to deal with and move on from. Then you have the boyfriend-girlfriend character that's super adventurous and wants to do these things that probably are not the wisest decisions to be making in consideration of what's going on in the plot. And then you have the friend that's like the reluctant one, the one that doesn't want to go out and, you know, do this. They're feeling apprehensive about it. They don't think it's a good idea, but the other two always inevitably end up ignoring that third cautious character, and that's basically the roles that Dan, Abby, and Jordan fulfilled in this book. So again, that was very predictable type of characterization. You also had the vaguely creepy townspeople that you often find in movies and books, or at least movies in my case, because again, I haven't read that many horror. So you had the vaguely creepy people that live in the town that would often leave really ambiguous and sinister, comments about this insane asylum that they were all staying in. And they themselves seemed a little bit, like, shady. Yeah, it was a little bit like, really? Again? Okay, fine. The character of Dan, the main character, actually really annoyed me as well. I didn't like how I don't know, he just... the story was it was from his perspective. It wasn't told in first person, it was told in third person, but it was still from his perspective. So you never really got to see anything from Jordan or Abby's perspective. So you only ever kind of heard a little bit of his, like, thought process and his inner monologues. And he just really, really annoyed me because he liked Abby and he just wanted to do everything to impress her. So, maybe we shouldn't go down this creepy, dark passageway because, we could die. But I want to impress her, so I'm going to do it anyway. I mean, he's 17. I mean, I know teenagers can be less than cautious, but that seemed a little bit ridiculous to me. But, I don't know. It was just the way he was acting in the book kind of got on my nerves. I feel like even for a 17-year-old, he was pretty immature. I felt like he was acting more like a 12-year-old should act. It was something that really got on my nerves throughout the whole book. I also thought the parents' reactions was a little bit unrealistic when creepy things started happening in this book and people were becoming harmed. The fact that his parents, when he tells his parents, no, I want to stay, and they're like, oh, okay, you have fun, just, don't get killed. I just thought it was a little bit ridiculous. I feel like if people are being harmed, that their parents might have had a little bit more say about whether or not he should stay there. Not to mention the fact that I'm pretty sure realistically, if stuff like that was going on, they would probably shut down the program. I mean, these are high school students, they're not college students yet. So I thought that part of the book was a little bit unrealistic. Overall, though, despite my misgivings and reservations with this book, I thought it was a pretty decent read. It was pretty fun and entertaining. I mean, if you're looking for a kind of spooky Halloween story that's a pretty quick read, I would recommend this book. I mean, I wouldn't expect a lot out of it. Overall, I personally gave it 3 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. For what it was pretty fun. There is a sequel, Sanctum. I won't be reading the sequel. This didn't draw me in enough to feel compelled enough to read the sequel. I mean, she definitely left it open-ended, like every horror movie ever, where it's like, oh, you think it's done? Not really, kind of a thing. I also did really enjoy the fact that there was a Doctor Who reference in this book. It made me very, very excited because apparently Jordan was a Doctor Who fan, and he started referencing... He was trying to explain a phenomenon that had happened, and he is describing it. I'm like, I think that was in an episode of Doctor Who. And it was. They're like, is that real? And he's like, no, I watched an episode of Doctor Who. And I was like, I knew it. Alright guys, that was my review of Asylum. Let me know down in the comments if you read this book and what your thoughts were. And just pretty much anything else you would like to chat about in the comments. Just feel free to do it and throw it down there. So thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, guys, happy reading and bye! Hi guys, it's Samantha and I am here today with another Facts on Authors video. Today we are going to be talking about the Bronte sisters.